Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between DIMAGA and Mouse Strelok here on Lost Temple. Mouse Strelok spawning as the blue Terran player here. Meanwhile, we have DIMAGA spawning as the red Zerg player over here. We do have an Overlord now in the air. Gonna go ahead and scout in the counterclockwise direction, quickly revealing Mouse Strelok. Now, these are relatively close spawns for air units, but there is a large walking distance between these two bases, meaning that both of these Zelnaga watchtowers, if this does become a ground fight, will become very, very important. Back over here, just taking a look around the map, hatchery now producing one additional drone, so it looks as though DIMAGA is going to be using that extractor trick in just a moment in order to get 12 over 10 food. Meanwhile, back over here, Mouse Strelok opening up with a standard 10 supply depot. Standard 10 supply depot, and now in comes this Overlord. Overlord has been revealed by Mouse Strelok as well, so both sides of the map know exactly where the other player has spawned. DIMAGA getting a little bit more information just because he can see whether there's an early gas, and will also be able to tell if there's going to be an early barracks. Now, the barracks still has not been placed down just quite yet. That SCV going back home and then now going to lay down this barracks. It looks as though it's going to be a little bit delayed. Yeah, going almost for a 13 racks there. Back over here, we already have the extractor coming into play. So extractor before the spawning pool. We'll see how Strelok is going to respond to this as the SCV now already on the move. SCV really wants to know if there's going to be any sort of information or any hatchery being placed down over here, but instead we are going to get the early spawning pool. That spawning pool now being trained up and should have a fair amount of gas. This particular early gas opening does bode well for more of a speedling boost into double queen hat or tier 2, I believe. I think that's the opening that DIMAGA is going for. Back over here, barracks now being completed, and we already have the refinery and upgrading to an orbital command. Overlord sitting right there as the SCV just running around on the inside of that base, not really doing much, as that spawning pool is nearing completion. Now only needs a couple more seconds, and the timing should be almost perfect in terms of getting 100 gas right there. Yeah, almost absolutely perfect. Getting that metabolic boost, training up some Zerglings, and also getting that queen as well. Overlord now making its way over into this position. A standard place for Zerg players to place that Overlord, trying to make sure that it is not able to be hit by any sort of Marines getting underneath it. Back over here, we now have this barracks now being lifted off and then being placed down and forming a factory now. So this factory, this front door seal is efficiently sealed, and Zerglings are unable to run between those two buildings as Marines now getting in position over here. Banelings can bust open this door, but I do not suspect any Baneling play for quite some time. SCV is now running in, or I don't know, thrusting into this base here, wants to get more sight, see exactly what's happening. A queen there to greet him, and down goes that SCV. Back over here, metabolic boost nearing completion as another queen now being trained up. So yeah, it is going to be a double queen train into tier 2, I believe. So the metabolic boost nearing completion, that queen going to be completed, and then DIMAGA should have enough, exactly at 150 minerals and 100 gas to tech to tier 2 as this queen is going to be completed. Back over here, we do have a tech lab swap between these two buildings. So a nice tech lab swap, but Zergling almost getting taken down there, will not be able to run up as we already have a command center. So instead of opening up with 111, opening up with 1-1 followed with the command center, saving those minerals for that early expansion. Back over here, the hatchery nearing completion as we now are in fact going to tier 2 double queens. One queen may make its way over. There is a creep tumor going to be able to spawn additional creep and make its way over to this hatchery. Going to have that very, very slow walk most likely in order to make it over there. And now taking a look at the production tab, we have siege tech now being researched, along with training up one siege tank and some no Marines. So just really one siege tank, and that's all that's really being built right now. As that supply depot now goes up in the backside of that base, we do have some drone transfer and a queen making her way over here. We'll be able to start spawning larvae in just a moment. And yeah, that phone is annoying. Back over here, hatchery now coming in. Hatchery now coming into play over here, and now getting some additional spine crawlers down here. So spine crawlers already being brought into play, and these spine crawlers are positioned in in a way so that any siege tanks that try to cliff this will have a very difficult time trying to take down any of these drones. So DIMAGA is suspecting some sort of cliffing with those siege tanks, as there are now a large amount of siege tanks. 3 siege tanks already this early in the game, and now going into an armory. So this is going to be a siege tank and siege tank into a Thor build, and this is going to be very, very interesting how this is all going to work out. Siege tanks now in position will be able to start blasting away any banelings that try to come in, as the banelings take 1 shot before they are destroyed. So what is this siege tank going to do? Is this siege tank also going to siege up? No, not quite yet. And now these spine crawlers all throughout the map, spine crawlers here and here, making sure that there is no siege tanks on this high ground. Back over here, production-wise, 1 Thor now being trained, and also a Spire being produced by DIMAGA. So DIMAGA getting on a fair amount of gas, should be able to train up 4 Mutalisks very, very easily, as there are now, as the gas is probably going to be the limiting factor as soon as that Spire completes, that Spire being built over here. So yeah, we'll be able to train up 4 Mutalisks, and will those Mutalisks be able to harass, or will the Thors be able to head out in time and deal with that very, very small Mutalisk army? Engineering Bay also coming into play, so that Engineering Bay will be able to drop down some missile turrets, or SCVs be able to build missile turrets and shoo away any of those Mutalisks. Over here, Overlords now just continuing to be produced, and now we have 5 Mutalisks. So 5 Mutalisks, perhaps a 6 Mutalisk will also join in on that party. Currently supply locked, waiting to get that extra Overlord as well. And now this is going to be, we should see some action sometime soon. Both players just really concentrating on a Sim City game, trying to get a strong enough economy. 1 Thor already in position, and now out comes 1 round of Javelin missiles, and those Javelin missiles able to cause some splash damage, splashing these Mutalisks. And now these Mutalisks are going to be forced to try to deal damage where they can. Now going after some of these siege tanks without any anti-air protection, as these Mutalisks now going to start taking some damage from this bunker over here. That bunker does have some Marines in there. Another round of, or I believe that was 1 missile that was launched towards these Mutalisks, and there it goes down and taken out. So very, very nicely done so far. Back over here, a Queen now in play and continuing to spawn larvae. So now sitting on only 3 larvae over here. DIMAGA not trying to macro up too much, and now getting an infestation pit. So we may see infestors or try to go for tier 3. Lately, a lot of Zerg players have been going for a lot of Ultralisk. Ultralisk, very, very strong unit against Terran and Zerg. It's one of those units that seem to have been revealed right after the beta was released, at how strong those Ultralisks really were, especially now that they no longer need that frenzy upgrade from that infestor. They are automatically have that frenzy, so that they are not mind controlled, cannot be stunned, so that Thor's 250mm strike cannon does not stop them from attacking. This 250mm strike cannon is still rarely used from the Terran point of view. And meanwhile, we may also see mass infestors. Mass infestors also very, very strong against siege tanks. With mass infestors, you can spawn infested Terran, and with those infested Terran, siege tanks start splashing on themselves because they're trying to destroy that 1 infested Terran. So if you spawn an infested Terran in a group of Marines, those Marines will take more damage than that infested Terran, pretty much. Back over here, we have Mutalisks now able to keep track of a very, very low hit, or 1 SCV there. So now Strelok unable to complete that SCV, or complete that 1 supply depot, and this supply depot gonna get taken down. Javelin missiles now coming out, but really that very, very slow attack rate, unable to do anything, as there's now roaches over here. So DIMAGA also has roaches, and also researching the faster movement upgrade, and now going into hive tech. And I do not see any infestors being researched, no neuroparasite either. Neuroparasite very, very strong against mech Thors, and also very strong against infantry. One of those units that you just have to get against a Terran player, because right now the most popular combinations of units is bio-mech ball, or a bio ball, or that heavy mech. If you're able to grab siege tanks and Thors, or immobilize those Marines and Marauders and splash in Banelings, the Terran player just pretty much has no chance whatsoever. Mutalisks continue to do some patrolling over here, making sure that Mouse Strelok is sitting on 1 base this whole entire time. Now more supply depots being built over here, so Strelok now starting to macro up a very, very large army, getting the combat shield, level 1 weapon upgrade, medevacs, and just trying to get a very, very large army. Tunneling claws now being researched as well, and now we are at tier 3, but I do not see any tier 3 buildings. No greater spire to be seen, no ultralisk cavern, so not quite sure why we are at tier 3. There are a large amount of roaches sitting over here, and the roaches are hiding over here by this brush, trying to make sure that they're not revealed. With the tunneling claws researched, and those units will be able to head on in there, except now a sensor tower being placed down. Also one of those other buildings that is very rarely used, and I really like Mouse Strelok throwing down these sensor towers. He can really keep track of any sort of attack that's trying to come in now. And it really gives the Terran player a little bit more of an advantage whenever he tries to turtle up. He still has decent sight throughout the whole entire map. Infantry armor level upgrades now being researched, and also the Ultralisk Cavern being brought into play. So with Ultralisk Cavern now, that Ultralisk Cavern will be able to start training up some Ultralisk. We'll see what's going to be happening as the Zerg player is sitting on a decent amount of minerals and gas, and now moving out with this Marine Marauder Thor army. Thor is upgraded 1-1-0. Same thing with these Marines and these Marauders, and this is all going to be determined by flanking position. And Mutalisk now trying to get some engagements as well. Will those roaches be able to come in from the back? Yeah, and now coming in from the back, roaches causing serious damage. Siege tanks now trying to get out of that siege mode, and now within that 0 damage, and roaches just doing their job, taking down some of these Thors, these siege tanks, Marines and Marauders siege tanks. And now we do have these roaches continuing to just push through, and now a lot of splash damage. Marines and Marauders trying to finish off that army and unable to, and now those roaches quickly burrow themselves, and burrowing themselves will be able to regenerate those hit points very quickly. So nicely done there. Back over here, Marines and Marauders perhaps going to try to do some sort of drop into the main base, and now with a drop into the main base, this is going to be looking very bad, as there are no units there and no units currently walking back up. So there is one queen, and that queen is going to get torn apart, trying to pull away, able to escape with 18 hit points, as now more roaches coming through. This queen not burrowing, as these siege tanks, Marauders, and Marines now taking down some of these drones over here. So even though Strelok's initial attack failed, able to get into the main base of DIMAGA and deal significant damage to the economy. Level 1 weapon and armor upgrades have been completed, and that Ultralisk Cavern now gonna get taken down. So down it goes, but already 2 Ultralisks already queued up. There are 6 Ultralisks already there. Broodlings now making their way, trying to take down more and more of these units. Splash damage, causing a lot of damage from that siege tanks back over, and now this Hive Tech may get taken down, and that's going to be really bad news. Ultralisk now coming over as well, roaches coming in, and these medevacs need to pick up these units, otherwise Strelok's going to lose his whole entire attack force, and he does lose his whole entire attack force. Queen in position over here. Meanwhile, Ultralisk now going to make their way, try to bulldoze their way through this position, and now in come these Ultralisks. Ultralisks now fighting back and forth, very smart, using that choke point on that ramp so that those Ultralisks get kind of tangled up on each other. Ultralisks are much better when they're out in the open field, and now with 5 Ultralisks out here, but without that additional armor upgrades, and it looks as though Strelok will be able to hold off this whole entire attack. It needs to get more Marauders to deal with those Ultralisks, perhaps even a Banshee or 2. We do also have a command center over here, and now these Queens able to push that back over here, and now this Hive Tech needs to start getting some transfusions. Very low on hit points, down to 418. We'll be able to regenerate slowly because it is on that creep, and now getting some additional extractors up. Current economy, we are looking at 53 harvesters versus 54, both sides even. Vikings now trying to escort and trying to establish an expansion over here to the top left. Ultralisk now moving very slowly, gonna go ahead and head back over here. Ultralisk get a slight movement upgrade when they're on creep, but no real way to try to move any more quickly after that. We do have a command center now carrying 5 SCVs in that load, 1 Zergling patrolling between these 2 expansions over here, and now another medevac drop coming in. Corruptors already in the air, and will those Corruptors be able to chase down those medevacs? Not quite sure. Movement 2.95 versus, I cannot tell since I can only see the payload of the medevac there. So now we have Corruptors, and do we have a Greater Spire? No Greater Spire yet. No Broodlords joining in on this fight just quite yet, as these units coming back down. The Terran medevacs move a little bit slower at 2.75. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between Mouse Strelok and DIMAGA here on Lost Temple.